The Twin Cities. We're going to give a call to Mel Lawrence.
What a great transition there, Doug.
Yeah, didn't really work right.
Yeah.
I was reaching for a book, and I kind of botched that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I got the righteous side on this day, my friend.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, murderous heart.
I'm just for destroying evil. Doug.
There is
You're for
a
placating it and coddling it.
there is a get together every year that Emergent Village puts on, and there's one going on this year in Austin, Texas. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you want to get together with other people at either a conference, because there's going to be a conference over the weekend in October 19th through the 21st. There's going to be a real conference. You pay money and people stand up on stages and they say things. I'll be one of those people standing up on the stage saying things. 2 days before that, the 17th through the 19th of October in Austin at the same facility, Mo Ranch, there's going to be a get together where people just share. It's more of a camp out like feel. Everybody gets to share on a topic that's important to them, and people can listen to them, and you have healthy conversations in ways that are meaningful.
There's not literal camping, is there?
No, you're not at the camp. No,
Okay.
no. You stay in like a lodge and stuff.
Yeah.
But next week I'm going out to a thing called the Wild Goose Festival, where you actually do have to camp, and I'm already stressing out about it because of that camping business. I don't do that well. So we're going to call Mel Lawrence. Mel is the author of the book Spiritual Influence, and he knows he's going to be on the show, and I'm going to call him on the Skypey.
Hello.
Hey, Mel. Doug Pagitt.
Hey, Doug. How are you?
I'm real good, friend. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Hey, thanks for being on the show today.
You bet.
And your book is terrific, by the way, at least what I've read of it so far, and the look and feel of it. It's called Spiritual Influence, the Hidden Power Behind Leadership. And it's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been kind of simmering in me for many years, and a couple years of actual work of teaching it both in the U.S. and overseas, interviewing people, doing some fresh biblical study, and kind of pulling some things together.
And over the last number of the most recent years, your position has changed at Elmbrook Church, where you're now what's called the minister at large.
Yep. Kind of sounds like I'm illegal, doesn't it?
It totally does. It's like, I mean, every other time that phrase is used, like there's a criminal at large or there's a tiger at large.
Do
you like prowl around?
Being let out of the cage.
Is that right? You've been let out and now you're just prowling around the halls of the church?
Yeah.
Hey, Mel.
Well, I was a pastor there for 30 years, the last 10 years as senior pastor. And in
they just couldn't
a
get rid
couple
of you,
years
huh?
ago.
I thought you were going to say the last 10 years were just hell.
Yeah, that's right.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say the last 10 years were just hell.
Yeah.
So anyway, after that spell, I have the opportunity here to take a lot of experiences and networks and connections, and just try to support people, leaders, believers, organizations, in a minister at large role, which means connecting with a lot of different people in a lot of different contexts.
And you do that through an effort that you guys call the Brook Network, which allows you to create resources and conversations and organizational connections and so on. Is that right?
Yeah, I kind of developed this with a kind of an ideal behind it. Proverbs says the fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook, and I think that what we really need to do today is to find wisdom, look under every rock, talk to every person that you can,
nice.
Young or old. We need wisdom. We need wisdom for the faith. We need wisdom for leadership. We need wisdom to understand how to be missional today. And so the Brook Network, I did a radio show for years that was basically chasing down people and finding out from people that I respect their wisdom. But yeah, we're doing teaching through that and networking. But it's all about pursuing wisdom, because I don't think it comes to us when we're passive. We got to go looking for it.
Nice. And I really like that notion of wisdom bubbling up in places, and maybe you have to move a rock or move an assumption or move through a difficult relationship in order to find the places of that wisdom.
Well, there's that, Doug, but and there's also this: if the fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. By the way, that's Proverbs 18:4. The whole idea of streaming. I mean, you're streaming this interview right now.
Right.
I think that we have a paradigm right now of learning, which is that there are these incredible streams of information and knowledge, and once in a while some wisdom. And I think that you have right there in that one verse in Proverbs the idea that God's wisdom for our lives is ever flowing. It doesn't come to you in one lump sum at one point in your life. We need to find the places where it's streaming to us, the relationships, the people that we respect, the authors that we like to read, and so on.
One of the things I found interesting about the book is that you ask people in a little note to the reader on how you suggest that they would read the book. You ask people to slow down and to try to read it together. As opposed to what a lot of us do is, we look at a book and sort of, fan our way through it and say to ourselves, well, how long is this going to take me? And am I willing to give myself 3 hours or 4 hours for this idea? You're saying, hey, if it takes you 20 minutes to read a chapter, then spend 40 minutes thinking about it and reflecting. And even better yet, don't read it by yourself, but read it with a group of people and see what they think and what their intuitions are and what their sensibilities are about what they get out of it. What goes into writing a book on spiritual influence and wanting people to approach the book in that way and to read it in that way?
Well, to tell you the truth, I would say that to people about any book that they read.
Oh.
I think that in our culture, our biggest deficit is reflection. We read as a task, plow through it, shut the cover of the book, and you're on to the next thing. And we miss what we really get out of it by reading something that's worth our precious time and then taking a walk, thinking about it. And so that's my general approach to how we should consume the things that we choose to read. The thing about not reading alone, in this particular project, which is about spiritual influence and leadership, I'm finding that when people talk about these ideas with each other, read the book and talk about the ideas, that's where they're really getting the greatest benefit. So we put together a little thing called Circles of Influence. It's really very simple. It's kind of like a book club approach. It is saying to people, there's 4 sections in this book. Why don't you find 3, 4, maybe 5 friends, colleagues at the most, have 4 discussions together, maybe over 4 weeks. And in this circle of influence, you're going to shape each other, you're going to influence each other. And if people are interested, the website, theinfluenceproject.com,
nice.
has the discussion guide for all that. And I've run about 20 of those so far, right here at the front end. And I'm just watching people that are in different positions of influence in their work or in home. It can be church, education, can be business. When they talk about these things with each other, then it really goes a lot deeper for them.
That's great, and that's one of the things I want to bring up. Even though you're a pastor and have been for a long time, the ideas in this book are not just for spiritual influence of a religious community. You really mean leadership and influence and spirituality of influence in a much broader sense than just inside the church.
Absolutely, Doug. This was, I think, the big light bulb that came on for me personally is that I got more enthusiasm from people who are in positions of influence or leadership, whatever you want to call it, in their work, in education, in nonprofits, in government, and so on. The people who are saying, thank you for breaking Christian leadership out of the church, because we are believers, we are in positions of influence or leadership, and nobody's really explained to us, what is this salt and light thing all about? It's just a cliche. Mm-hmm. Nobody has given us a picture of integrity that goes beyond, stay out of jail, don't have serial affairs,
right?
Don't do cocaine. Then your nose is clean. And so, what I see is in this incredibly needy society, the need for armies of people of faith who have influence to connect, not by cliche, but in reality, the things that they have, the wisdom that they have, the discernment that they have, good ideas and high ideals, and flow that directly into their work and life. So it applies inside the church. It applies outside the church.
I'm interested in the title, because in some way, that you have the title, which is called Spiritual Influence, and then the subtitle, which are always helpful, the hidden power behind leadership. And it seems like you're wanting to define leadership as a person who has influence, and that influence comes with responsibility. Is that how you think about leadership? Because I know there's a lot of visions of leadership and a lot of views of leadership. Is influence a primary understanding that you have for what it means for someone to be a leader?
Absolutely, and I'm certainly not the first one to point that out. I think that going back at least to the 1930s.
Yeah, and I said it a long time ago. I said it a couple weeks ago, I think. So yeah, you're right.
How to win friends and influence people.
That's right, yeah.
The thing about influence is a word that is frequently used as kind of a synonym, or one of the most common definitions of leadership. I think that our concepts of leadership have gotten very, very constrictive. Mm-hmm. People think about Christian leadership as leadership in the church, and it's so much more than that. Mm-hmm. They also think about leadership as organizational leadership. How do you build a machine? Mm. How do you grow it? How do you maintain it? But I think that any dynamic view of leadership includes people in the arts, people who are teachers, people who are parents. That's what leadership is. And what I've found is that the concept of influence, matter of fact, it's a Latin word, influentia, and you see the word fluent in it, or flow. It means when you are affected by something powerful that is flowing into you and then flows out of you as you're an influence on other people. And I connect that with spiritual life. Spiritual life is God the Creator flowing to us, incredible, powerful realities like wisdom and discernment and so on. And then we can exercise that if you are an organizational leader or if you're another kind of leader. So that's a long way of saying, yeah, I think that influence is a very handy way, not the only way, but one very handy way of describing what the purpose of leadership is.
I don't know my Latin very well, but that Latin phrase influentia, is there any connection to that, to influenza, like the flu?
I don't honestly know. I don't know. I do know this, that in the Middle Ages, people talked about the influentia of the stars. People superstitiously thought that human beings do the good things and the crazy things that they do because the heavenly bodies have this invisible force. That's where we get astrology. So that's influentia used in the Middle Ages. Now, we talk about influence today, not superstitiously, but as those powerful but oftentimes hidden forces which are exercised upon a person. For a believer, you think about the Spirit of God being this power that flows to us and shapes us and challenges us, and then hopefully ultimately flows through us to the benefits of other people. And that's the hidden power of leadership. And for believers, that's what they have to offer that's different from secular ideas of leadership.
Well, and I really like that idea of influence as the way to understand leadership, because it seems to me that so much leadership can feel like it comes with some authority or some right? Like someone just is a leader, and then you should follow the leader.
Yep.
And influence recognizes the relational dynamic, right? Where you're saying to someone like, this is how I think it should go, or this is an effect that I think could be in your life, or this is something that could play out as a reality for you. But that requires that the follower is in agreement and
Yep.
is in on it, right? Like it has a relational component. And I know a lot of people have been trained in leadership where it's like, well, what you do is you lead, and then people who, have ears to hear will follow you. But as a leader, you just need to be concerned about where you're going and not about the people that are following. And it seems like you're wanting to nuance that in a way that says, no, there really is a relational connection, that all human beings influence one another and thereby are leaders. So what do we do with that leadership that we all possess?
I think you're exactly right. It's more than a nuance, though. I mean, this is a fundamentally different view of leadership. Two big words: power and authority.
Great. Hey, Mel, can you hold that? We just we're going to take a little break here for about 15 seconds while we save a video, because we put these up in videos in little 15-minute pieces, and I feel like this is a great place to transition to the to the second part of this. So so when we come back here in just a few seconds, I'd love to have you finish up that thought. We're talking with Mel Lawrenz. Mel is the author of a book called Spiritual Influence: The Hidden Power Behind Leadership, and he's going to be back with us here in just a moment.